tonight. Imagine having brain cancer, then having a seizure and waiting nearly a day for a hospital bed. That's the state of emergency rooms in Saskatchewan right now. And a woman central to complaints against a Saskatoon Christian school thinks her home was targeted as a result. Plus,
it feels great to have this in the province. There's rider gear everywhere, all over. Even though we're not in it, unfortunately, there's still that feeling that the Grey Cup is here.
Hundreds of students get the party started as Grey Cup festivities kick off.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It's Tuesday, November 15th. CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Emergency rooms across the province are scrambling to keep up with a spike in sick patients. The problem is so extreme, a Regina girl with brain cancer who was struggling to breathe was forced to wait nearly a day for a bed. Yasmin Ghanea has the story.
Jenna Pratt's 4-year-old daughter, Dream, has brain cancer. The little girl had a seizure over the weekend, so Pratt rushed her to the emergency room at Regina General Hospital, where they waited 20 hours to get a bed.
As we were waiting there, all you could hear was crying babies or sick kids coughing. I've never seen so much kids in emergency, and we've spent time in emergency before.
Hospitals in several provinces, including Alberta and Ontario, are under intense pressure as they deal with an influx of sick children. Healthcare workers are battling a wave of respiratory illnesses, including RSV, influenza, and COVID-19. Early Monday morning, Dream had trouble breathing and had a seizure. Pratt called an ambulance and Dream was taken to the Regina General Hospital emergency department. Pratt says doctors nearly intubated the little girl. She says they wanted to admit Dream to hospital, but there were no beds.
We kept getting forgotten about in emergency. Nobody changed her diaper. We had to request for juice and drinks. I had to request even to get time off to use the bathroom because I had to sit in a room with her.
Pratt says she was told the Jim Pattison Children's Hospital here in Saskatoon was also full. The Saskatchewan Health Authority was not able to provide answers about wait times and hospital bed capacity, but a Regina ER doctor tells CBC that as of Tuesday morning, 21 people who had been admitted to the Regina General Hospital still didn't have beds. The province's top doctor says more people should get the flu shot.
If you have a child 6 months to 5 years who generally doesn't get a flu vaccine, this is the year to think of getting a flu vaccine.
Some health experts are recommending people wear masks again in public indoor spaces. Saskatchewan's health minister says requiring people to wear them is out of the question.
I don't think we have to have mask mandates. I think it's everybody's own decision whether they want to be able to do that.
As for 4-year-old Dream, she was eventually given a bed and she's still in hospital, but her mother says she's now stable. Yasmin Ghanea, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The RCMP is investigating a fire at the home of a Saskatchewan woman known for speaking out against a private Christian school and church in Saskatoon. Caitlin Erickson has played a key role in efforts to expose alleged perpetrators of abuse. She believes she was targeted because of that. Kendall Latimer reports.
Caitlin Erickson says the vandalism to her house started last Thursday. Someone ripped down her security cameras and spray painted a scripture verse. Erickson says she took the message as a threat.
Our God is a consuming fire, I think is what the scripture verse is. So yeah, it's obviously concerning, and having somebody weaponize scripture is pretty, I think it's scary when people weaponize scripture. Okay.
Erickson says she'd seen this verse before. In August, someone sent her a threatening email.
It said, Caitlin, it would be advisable for you to stop talking to the press if you value your life. Hebrews 12:29.
Erickson has been speaking with the press for months, trying to expose alleged abuse at a private Christian school in Saskatoon. She and others have filed criminal assault and abuse complaints against nearly 24 people connected to the school and church. A $25 million class action lawsuit is also in the works. Erickson reported the scripture graffiti to the RCMP and left home, returning the next day to feed her dogs. Once inside, she heard someone upstairs.
Oh, I panicked. Like, it was immediate. Like, I froze with fear, and I had my 15-year-old nephew with me. So it was like making that decision. Do we, like, is this person going to come out and attack us, or do we run? So we ran out of the house.
Erickson reported the intruder to the RCMP. Later that night, another officer called with more bad news.
He just said, I don't know how to tell you this. There's been a fire at your house. And I said, no, I think you have the wrong person. I called about the break and enter. And he was like, no, is this your address? You have 2 dogs? I was like, yes. And he's like, no, there's been a fire.
CBC is not reporting the location of the home.
You don't know what's starting.
But there is a video that shows extensive damage inside. Her belongings are melted and some of her pets died, although her 2 dogs, Yoshi and Georgia, survived.
If that's what their intention was to scare me into silence, that's not happening.
RCMP are investigating the fire. Erickson says the fire, vandalism, and threats have all been hard to deal with, but she still doesn't regret speaking out. Kendall Latimer, CBC News, Saskatoon.
A Saskatoon mother accused of faking her death, abducting her child, and fleeing to the United States is facing more charges. This past summer, she was the subject of an extensive missing persons search after she disappeared with her child. They were found in Oregon. The 48-year-old woman cannot be named due to a publication ban. She was released on bail. But today, Saskatoon police arrested her again and added more charges. They include identity fraud and forging a passport. She faces similar charges in the United States. A man won't face any criminal or bylaw charges after a Saskatoon police officer chased, tackled, and punched him. That's because the arresting officer has determined the man has cognitive issues. The altercation happened earlier this month. Police say they came upon the man urinating on a busy Saskatoon street. He ran away when officers approached him. A bystander's video shows the officer punching the man when he caught up to him. Police are reviewing the incident internally. The Saskatchewan NDP says high meat prices in the grocery store aren't benefiting the people who raise the cattle. They say livestock producers are getting shortchanged and want the province to find out why. The NDP wants to see a special committee of the legislature created to work with the Federal Agriculture Committee to examine food prices. It says corporate grocery store chains are raking in record profits and that meat processing and packaging companies are failing ranchers. The official opposition says livestock producers are facing hardship due to continuing drought and inflation.
Meat prices at the meat aisle and at the butcher shop have gone through the roof, but that hasn't correlated with or tracked with the price for live cattle, which has stayed flat. So costs are through the roof for cattle producers, for livestock producers. The return is not enough, not fair.
The Agriculture Minister did not answer questions about whether he would support a committee. David Merritt blamed the carbon tax and drought for challenges in the livestock industry. The teams are arriving. The setup is almost complete. Grey Cup week is kicking off in Saskatchewan. The game is in Regina, but the festivities got started today in Saskatoon. Adam Hunter has the details.
More than 1,500 students from North and Central Saskatchewan packed into the Merlis Belcher Arena in Saskatoon this afternoon. Event speakers say the Grey Cup is a chance to bring communities together, with today's rally focused on inspiring youth.
Each and every person, may be struggling with something today. So we hope through this youth rally, we're going to be able to inspire them so that they leave those doors, getting back on the buses, changed and transformed with a sense of believing, I got this, I can do this.
Two-time Grey Cup champion and former Rough Rider Neil Hughes was the master of ceremonies. Hughes says even though his team is not in the game, he's looking forward to the week ahead.
Playing in 4 Grey Cups and winning 2, I know the atmosphere is going to be crazy. I know that there's going to be a lot of Winnipeg fans, unfortunately, in Regina, but it'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it.
Riders president and CEO Craig Reynolds says it was important to make sure Grey Cup celebrations have a provincial feel. And on Wednesday, the Cup will be making its way south to Regina before making some stops along the way.
We thought about the trek that rider fans take every game day from Saskatoon down through Davidson and Chamberlain and Lumsden and through to Mosaic Stadium. So we wanted to duplicate that, and we thought we'd start the activities here in Saskatoon and then bring the Cup down Highway 11 like so many of our fans do and celebrate it along the way.
In Regina, this street festival in Victoria Park is hosted by Regina Downtown and is getting the finishing touches. It will feature ice carving and live music and starts on Thursday. The majority of the Grey Cup festivities will be held here at the Real campus next to Mosaic Stadium. And they'll kick off tomorrow night when the Grey Cup arrives in Regina. Adam Hunter, CBC News, Regina.
A foggy morning combined with below freezing temperatures meant Reginans woke up to a city covered in rime ice. The crystal-covered trees were so pretty they could almost make you forget how much you have to bundle up to enjoy the outdoors. Stay with us. Ethan Williams will bring us the forecast after the break. Welcome back. Our planet has hit a major milestone. The United Nations says there are 8 billion people living on Earth today, and that might tie into some concerns delegates are raising at COP27. David Common takes a closer look.
8 billion people now inhabit our ball in space, but the real story is the speed and consequence of population growth. 1 billion or so for many centuries. Then in 1927, not even 100 years ago, we hit 2 billion. By 2010, 7 billion. Now just 12 years to add our latest billion. The most growth now concentrated in the world's poorer nations. Elsewhere, birth rates are plummeting.
We are keeping girls in school longer. We are giving women opportunities to earn a living outside the home. We are getting rid of child marriage, and we are giving women, choices about their family size.
But we're living longer with better nutrition, clean drinking water, vaccines, and health care.
Thank you.
Lifespans are such a factor that 1 in 15 of us Homo sapiens who've ever lived is alive right now.
As the human footprint has grown, habitat for other species has shrunk. One effect is that 1 million animal and plant species are on the verge of extinction. As we get closer to animal habitat, more diseases are appearing. Things like COVID. Then there's climate change, worsened not solely by how many people there are, but how much those people consume from the earth.
I think what we really need to think about is what are those 8 billion people doing, and what can we do to make the world keep going with 8 billion.
50 years ago, most of us lived in rural areas. Now, well over half live in cities globally. Some expect we'll hit 9 billion within 15 years. Others believe fewer kids being born means the population size has nearly stabilized. David Common, CBC News, Toronto.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. 22 model clear out is on now.
Weather specialist Ethan Williams is here with our forecast. You know, I'm not really a fan of this early winter, but I have to admit that rime ice was really beautiful this morning.
Yeah, it made it like a postcard out there in some areas of the province for sure. And in case you're wondering just what rime ice is and maybe the difference between hoarfrost, well, the rime ice that we've been seeing occurs in those really foggy, cloudier conditions, and it's usually heavier, kind of harder to break off, and sometimes can even do damage to things like power lines and cause power outages because it's so heavy. Hoarfrost is a little lighter. It's easy to shake off the trees, and it occurs in those clear conditions, and we usually see that, you know, at the beginning of the fall as temperatures start to drop. Now, we might see more of that rime ice and maybe a little bit of frost in the coming days because our pattern in the upper atmosphere is basically staying the same, and it's all because of this ridge out to our west, and it's going to really intensify over the next few days. And if this shape looks a little bit familiar to you, it's because it takes the shape of the Greek symbol omega. And in fact, there is a name for this type of pattern in the upper atmosphere. It's called an omega blocking ridge. The ridge basically keeps everything in place. It's high pressure, of course, shaped like the Greek symbol omega. And as we go through these next few days, it's really going to stay in place. Doesn't move our way basically at all. And again, we are still trapped between troughing to our east and ridging to our west, which means for us things really not going to change too dramatically. What will change is at the surface level. We are watching a low pressure system to our north, and there is this warm front that we have been talking about the past couple of days. It's been pretty stagnant as well. It's been warming up the western side of the province. Eastern side, you're going to get warmed up as we head through the night tonight. Temperature is going to increase into tomorrow, but we are watching some widespread snow showers heading through the day tomorrow, and a cold front in its wake is going to drop temperatures heading into Thursday, but it is going to clear things out. Now, how much snow are we talking? Generally between 2 and 5 centimeters, I think, by the time we get into Thursday morning. Same in the north of the province, maybe a little bit more in that northeast section of the province. We are also going to see winds pick up with that low pressure system, generally between 50 and 70 kilometers an hour province-wide tomorrow, and even heading into Thursday, especially the south of the province, going to see those gusts again between about 40 and 50 kilometers an hour. And that means with the wind and the snow, we will likely see visibilities dropping through the night tonight. There's also the possibility of some fog in southeastern regions. And so if you're heading out on the roads tonight, and especially through the day tomorrow, best to keep tuned to the highway hotline because there could be some spots during the day, even into the afternoon, where visibility is lower in some spots. In Regina these next few days, we will get through the snow as we get into Thursday. Again, I think it's going to be a little bit sunnier, but we're still going to be seeing some blowing snow as the winds are going to be a little bit breezy. And then heading into the weekend, it looks like our Grey Cup game going to be actually not all that bad. Saskatoon, less snow from this system tomorrow. It'll be a chilly Thursday, but a lot more sunshine, I think, and then a gradual warm-up heading into the beginning of next week, Natasha, but still just a little bit below average for this time of year.
I always learn something new from your forecasts. Thanks for that, Ethan.
You're welcome.
This bird is a long way from home. A man in Saskatoon contacted Living Sky Wildlife Rehabilitation when he saw it fluttering around in his backyard and found it looked a little out of place in the cold. Turns out it's a Costa's hummingbird. They're mostly found in southwestern United States. The Wildlife Rehab Center is trying to get a permit to transport the bird back to the States. We'll be back after the break. The World Junior Hockey Tournament takes place in the Maritimes next month, and the event is surrounded by controversy. The tournament was supposed to be held in Russia. That plan was dropped because of the war in Ukraine. Then sponsors withdrew their support in response to Hockey Canada's handling of sexual assault claims. Karen Pauls looks at some of the risks and the possible rewards of hosting the event.
For many Canadians, the World Juniors are a holiday tradition. A win for host communities.
I booked the day off work so I could be here.
But COVID-19 forced a summer version of the tournament in Edmonton this past August. The timing and high ticket prices, along with the growing Hockey Canada scandal, meant it was less successful than most. Still, people in Halifax and Moncton say they're excited about next month's event.
We're pretty confident we can put on a memorable experience for the people who do come.
But there are some big financial uncertainties after most major sponsors pulled their support of both Hockey Canada and the World Junior Tournament.
I think whenever you make these decisions, there's always some consequences that are difficult to deal with.
Bauer has already shifted some of that sponsorship money.
We are continuing with our women's program, and we are redirecting any profits from men's hockey equipment purchases to grassroots programming.
Halifax's mayor isn't worried despite a $1 million commitment from the city.
We're told that the risk for us is pretty low.
But John Wishart is a little more cautious.
The uncertainty around the sponsorship dollars has made us, reevaluate what's achievable in a short period of time.
The loss of that sponsorship money will have some trickle-down impacts.
It's probably Hockey Canada and TSN that are going to combined eat a lot of the losses that come from this. Commercial time's still going to be sold, but it's just not going to be the same competitive space of Tim Hortons, Canadian Tire, and TELUS.
So far, both Savage and Wishart say ticket sales are strong. They see this as an opportunity for Hockey Canada and the World Juniors to start fresh.
Show that we can put on a tournament safely, that the fan experience is good, that the product on the ice is good, and maybe start a new chapter in this storied history of this tournament.
And to make sure that people realize hockey belongs to all of us, not just to a few.
Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
And Ethan is back with one last look at our forecast.
And it will be a cloudy start to the morning tomorrow, Natasha. In Regina, we're looking at -6. Winds starting to pick up out of the northwest already by 8 a.m. And then that snow moves in by the time we get to the noon hour. It'll be quite windy, gusts up out of the northwest to around 50 kilometers an hour. Visibility likely going to be reduced on that front. Saskatoon, we're looking for flurries starting tomorrow morning, -6. And then we're going to warm up to around -4. But keep in mind, with those gusty winds feeling closer to -10, visibility likely going to be dropped there as well. This show is going to the birds. We showed you hummingbirds before the break. This is a northern hawk owl that CJ grabbed up in Prince Albert National Park. She's always grabbing some great photos for us, and it appears to be enjoying some of that rime ice that we talked about a little earlier as well, Natasha.
Thank you for that, Ethan.
You're welcome.
A group of Regina residents are sending tidings of comfort and joy to Canadian military members serving overseas. It's a Christmas tradition they started 6 years ago. They create thousands of cards with personalized messages.
It's a lot of fun. It's being able to send a little bit of wish from home, just simply say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. A lot of people will sign their cards, thank you for your service. Our first year here, we had 15 people, and we did a little over 700 cards. Last year, being virtual, we had 69 people, and we did 2,914 cards last year. So that was a surprise. When you're all said and done, as the cards are coming in and you're doing the math, and it's like, wow.
It's just something that makes me feel good inside, but I know by doing this, I'm going to make others feel good inside. And that's really the main purpose of spreading the Christmas cheer.
At least I can do something that is going to make their Christmas a little bit more special, because they aren't going to be with their families. We're all going to be with our families and loved ones, and their loved ones are back here in Canada and they can't be with them. So I just hope it touches them like it's going to touch me. It really makes me feel really good.
People have taken the time to draw pictures, included personal letters, full 2- and 3-page letters. It just depends on the individual as to what they want to put in them. For us, it's a simple thank you.
That's it for us tonight. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/sask. Glenn Reed will be back with more local news at 11. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.